Brexit, Cabinet to meet after deadlocking Commons votes.
Video. In respect of Mr Clark's motion C, Customs Union, the ayes were 273, the noes were 276. So the noes have it. In respect of Mr Nicholas Bowles's motion D, Common Market 2.0, the ayes were 261, the noes were 282. So the noes have it. In respect to Mr Peter Kyle's motion E, confirmatory public vote, the ayes were 280, the noes were 292. So the noes have it. In respect of Joanna Cherry's motion G, parliamentary supremacy, the ayes were 191, the noes were 292. So the noes have it.
Theresa May is preparing for 5 hours of cabinet talks, after MPs again failed to agree on the proposals for the next steps in the Brexit process. MPs voted on 4 alternatives to the Prime Minister's withdrawal deal, but none gained a majority. A customs union with the EU was rejected by 3 votes, while a motion for another referendum got the most votes in favour, but still lost. The UK is due to leave the EU on 12 April but could yet seek an extension. Brexit Secretary Stephen Barclay told MPs that if they wanted to secure a further delay from the EU, the government must be able to put forward a credible proposition as to what it would do. One suggestion has been the possibility of a general election, but former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson told BBC political editor Laura Quinsberg that would likely infuriate voters. Instead, Mr Johnson said he believed a new leader and change in negotiation tactic could retrofit the PM's terrible agreement with the EU. The so-called indicative votes on Monday night were not legally binding, but they had been billed as the moment when Parliament might finally compromise. That did not happen, however, and one Tory MP, Nick Bowles, who was behind one of the proposals, resigned the whip in frustration. He later tweeted that he would remain an MP and sit in the Commons as an independent progressive conservative. Please upgrade your browser. Your guide to Brexit jargon. Use the list below or select a button. Mrs May's plan for the UK's departure has been rejected by MPs 3 times. Last week, Parliament took control of the process away from the government in order to hold a series of votes designed to find an alternative way forward. 8 options were put to MPs, but none was able to command a majority, and on Monday night, a little down 4 were rejected too. They were. Those pushing for a customs union argued that their option was defeated by the narrowest margin, only 3 votes. It would see the UK remain in the same system of tariffs, taxes, on goods as the rest of the EU, potentially simplifying the issue of the Northern Ireland border, but prevent the UK from striking independent trade deals with other countries. Those in favour of another EU referendum pointed out that the motion calling for that option received the most votes in favour, totalling 280.
I've given everything to an attempt to find a compromise that can take this country out of the European Union while maintaining our economic strength and our political cohesion. I accept I have failed. I have failed chiefly because my party refuses to compromise. I regret, therefore, to announce that I can no longer sit for this party.
Oh, Nick, don't go. Come on.
Honourable gentleman, please told the House.
Mr Barclay said the only option left now was to find a way forward that allows the UK to leave the EU with a deal, and the only deal available was the Prime Minister's. If that could be done this week, he added, the UK could avoid having to take part in elections to the European Parliament in May. Health Secretary Matt Hancock agreed it was time for Mrs May's deal to be passed. But Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said that while it was disappointing that none of the proposals secured a majority, he said he wanted to remind the Commons that Mrs May's deal had been overwhelmingly rejected. He urged MPs to hold a third round of indicative votes on Wednesday in the hope that a majority could yet be found for a way forward. For months, Parliament had been saying let us have a say, let us find the way forward, but in the end they couldn't quite do it. Parliament doesn't know what it wants and we still have lots of different tribes and factions who aren't willing to make peace. That means that by the day, two things are becoming more likely. 1. Leaving the EU without a deal. And 2. A general election, because we're at an impasse. One person who doesn't think that would be a good idea is former Foreign Secretary and Brexiteer Boris Johnson. He told me going to the polls would solve nothing and would just infuriate people. He also said that only somebody who really believes in Brexit should be in charge once Theresa May steps down. I wonder who that could be. Hear more from Laura and the gang in Brexitcast. Liberal Democrat Norman Lamb told BBC Look East he was ashamed to be a member of this parliament and hit out at MPs in his own party, 5 of whom voted against a customs union and 4 of whom voted against Common Market 2.0. Senior EU figures showed their frustration at the latest moves in Westminster. Video.
Yet again, MPs had a chance to see if they could agree on something about Brexit, as opposed to rejecting every option. And guess what? Yet again, they've rejected all of the options in front of them. And when you speak to MPs, there is a sense that they get that people are fed up of this, exasperated by Parliament's inability to reach a decision. But they say, look, I'm just one of 650 people. What am I supposed to do? So what happens next? The government gets together, the cabinet getting together for a long series of meetings to try and work out what to do next. It may be that later this week MPs get another chance to see if they can agree on something, and perhaps Theresa May will bring back her deal, already rejected 3 times, for yet another go. And of course, the context for all of this is that Brexit is due to happen a week on Friday.
European Parliament Brexit coordinator Guy Verhofstadt tweeted that by voting down all the options, a hard Brexit becomes nearly inevitable. BBC Europe editor Katja Adler said the mood in Brussels was one of disbelief, that the UK still does not seem to know what it wants. She said EU leaders were also questioning the logic of arguing over things like a customs union or common market option at this stage, because right now, the UK has only 3 options as they see it: no deal, no Brexit or Theresa May's deal, and anything else is a matter for future talks once the UK has actually left.